I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Good morning or afternoon, as the case may be, folks. Welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Chris live in central Pennsylvania. Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Chris. Sounds pretty good. All right, welcome back. Anyway, it is Saturday, January 25th, 2025. We've got rugby on tap over on Rugby Senate. But before we get to that, we are going to cover John Steenhuisen, leader of the Democratic Alliance, speaking on expropriation without compensation, and apparently on the national health insurance issue. So we'll see what he has to say. Welcome to the program. I am not a bitter ex. I have no dog in the fight. I'm not here to complain about the DA, although I will call them out. But we'll see what happens as this thing gets started here shortly. The DA is the strongest party, and we're led by the great leader, John Steenhuisen, says Michael Holmes. Really, the strongest party? Why do you have 21% support in the parliament instead of 51% if you're the strongest party? All right, let me say hello to everybody here in the chat, and then we'll get started here, and I'll talk to you. We have a host of people who are upset with this expropriation without compensation, including the Economic Freedom Fighters, the Mkhonto we Sizwe Party, the African Transformation Movement, the Democratic Alliance, the Freedom Front Plus, AfReform, Solidarity. The list goes on and on and on. So Nike Krug is here, and Carlos Mango is here as well. Ferdosh Diakis, wow, it's been a while. You've changed your avatar. Good to see you again. Joe Rafferty is out of here. Does that mean you left? So, and Charmaine says, why are you and Ronaldo treating us like kids in a divorce? Not at all. I get your joke, but you're free to watch whatever content you want. You can watch my stellar commentary, or you can go fall asleep listening to Ronaldo. It's your choice. We need primaries in South Africa. Yeah, you need to vote for the candidates, not for a party list. That's what you need in South Africa. That would be actual democracy, representative republic, not the garbage that you have. And I've been saying this all along, and people are starting to listen to me. It's about time. This is going to be interesting, says Vilma. I hope so. G. Sawyer says, it seems the DA's guest to govern at the cost, their quest to govern, at the cost of their principles will be their literal undoing. Yes, G. Sawyer, I agree 100%. Jan van der Riebeck. Oh, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. We have an appearance from Jan van der Riebeck. This gentleman is 483 years old. I hope you're doing well today. Is it arthritis kicking up? Hazel Pony says, hi, Jan. What else there? Hendo is here. We got Hendo and Michael Holmes is in. Teresa Smuts, Brian Lawrenson, Andre, talk the truth. The DA are now the lap puppy of the ANC. They legitimize a corrupt, racist, useless ANC government. The so-called GNU is ANC's ticket to rule. Well, there you go, Andre. I've been saying that for months. Just as the Soviet Union collapsed, it's now time for the Cape and South Africa to go our separate ways. Well, we'll see. Like the Baltic states, will they find their own way out? Jacques Klute, welcome to you. Gerard Steenkamp. And Elizabeth Krug, I think I said already. There is Garrett Gilligan from Somerset West. Stuart Lennox, I'll have to come move to the Cape then. Well, a lot of people will be doing that. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Let me just go check and make sure that they don't start early on us. They're scheduled to start in 7 minutes. So let's just get to the nub of this, what's been going on. This week, on the 23rd of January, just 2 days ago, actually, the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, signed into law the Expropriation Without Compensation Act. We've seen all kinds of apologists from the Democratic Alliance, from other political parties, from the ANC, running around saying that this is not expropriation, it's in the Constitution. These are lies, folks. Read Section 25 of the Constitution for yourself. It's plain letter. It's clear. You don't have to be a legal expert to understand what it says. And it says that property, not land, property is what's in play here. And it says that you can only expropriate property with a public need or justification, and it must be just and equitable compensation. In other words, you must be paid for it or be given something in kind. It isn't specific on that. You cannot simply steal people's property. This is a red herring. It's all a red herring, all a bunch of nonsense. That's what's going on here. This story being pushed by the ANC and others that the land was stolen. Please find me one person who is currently a property holder, black, white, or brown in South Africa, who stole their land from someone. Now, there are people currently sitting on land who were relocated there as a consequence of the apartheid regime in the 1980s. That's true. Some of them are still on the land that they acquired in the 1980s, but they also had to sacrifice and give up land that their family had owned for over a century. Also, please, someone show me the title deeds of the Nguni-speaking peoples that date from the time before 1652. I'd like to see those title deeds. Anybody got those? Are they stored in an archive at UCT? Oh, wait, that was the library that got torched when the arsonists burned Table Mountain. So I guess we don't have those records anymore. Well, of course, they never existed, so we wouldn't have those. Now, I'm being facetious. People can have a claim to land, even if they don't have individual title to it. The Inganyama Trust is something that the National Party set up for the benefit of the Zulu to divide folks and to enrich the Zulu king or monarchy. So, yeah, that's held in trust. But what I'm saying is that this nonsensical, racist dog whistle that white people stole land, show me one white person that stole land in South Africa today. And if you have the evidence for it, I'll do an expose and reveal that these people stole the land. But of course, no one can do that because I'm unaware of a single case where that occurred. So it's just nonsense. And people are just foolish and stupid. And here's the thing. Any black, white, or brown South African that supports this garbage doesn't believe in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which they've been professing for decades. Oh, we believe in UDI. UDI is so wonderful. Oh, yeah, not UDI, Universal Declaration of Independence, but Declaration of Human Rights. Universal, UDHR. Yeah, they've been saying this for years. Also, it's enshrined in South Africa's constitution. Right there in Section 1, non-racialism must be there. And this is not non-racialist. This is clearly targeting minority white South Africans, but not them exclusively. But the reality is that this is a power that will enrich the government of the day. I've said this from the very beginning. I'm the only person that has been saying that phrase. I guarantee it. Find another analyst that's told you that. The government of the day. Today it's the ANC. Tomorrow it's MK or the DA. The government of the day will use expropriation without compensation to threaten and intimidate its political opponents. Yep. And if you think only the ANC would do that, then you are a rube. I'm here to tell you that any political party will do it. And we'll see the proof in the pudding, because now expropriation without compensation is available to the national, the provincial, and the municipal governments. Any one of those governments, without contacting anyone else, can steal your property. Property. I didn't say your farm. I never said your farm. I said your property. Your Land Rover, your Toyota Corolla, your jewelry, your stocks, your retirement fund, your flat. They can take all of it. And then people are like, oh, that's just, Cassandra. That's, no, it's not. You're missing the point. You're missing the point. Now, will they come in mass and start confiscating flats? No. Will they come in mass and take people's cars? No. Will they take people? They will take your retirement pensions. They're already doing that. They're already bankrupting companies with the black tax. 100 billion rand on a 3% tax on profits for corporations to fund racist legislation policy for black-only businesses. You must take money from your profits, deny it to your shareholders who took the risk and invested in your company and took a chance on you and gave you the resources and capital to build a business in the first place. You must not give them a dividend, return on investment. You must not give a pay rise to your staff. And you must not reinvest that money into new buildings, new facilities, new trucks, new cars, new factories, because we are going to take your 3% and give it to people based solely on one factor. One factor. The color of their skin. Wow. If that isn't racist, I don't know what is. Okay, we're 2 minutes and 30 seconds away from John Steenhuisen from the Democratic Alliance telling us what he has to say about this. Now, I have a rugby broadcast scheduled for the bottom of the hour, so we'll stay with this as long as we can. Then we have to switch over to the Lions and Bulls. So I'll ask for your indulgence. Also, you're welcome to join me over there if you like. I see I have like 1/10 or 1/15 of Ronaldo's audience, but then I'm not in South Africa, and I'm not here to whinge about the DA, and I guess people want to hear that. So, all right, the hadi-da. The majority of South Africans never, as white South Africans, just accept that fact. Now, Pablo Charlie, that's a statement that is factually incorrect. I don't know personally a single black South African that doesn't recognize white South Africans as South Africans. Not one. Not one, Pablo Charlie. You're talking about the media, social media, and political elites, not South Africans. Very different story here. Michael says, I was not pro-GNU, but the Doomsday Coalition would have killed the economy. Well, you have the Doomsday Coalition. The Democratic Alliance is fulfilling the policies of the MK and the EFF. Maybe not to the fashion that those parties wanted or to the extent they wanted, but that's what they're doing. The Democratic Alliance has become the lapdog of the GNU. And to some extent, so has the Freedom Front Plus. Yep. In fact, I know a few Freedom Front Plus people who are leaving the party. Yep. Because of this. If the Freedom Front Plus leaves, they will take the vote with them. As Mark Myberg started saying in Ronaldo's stream, we are all done with ANC's bullshit. Yeah, I don't know what was said in Ronaldo's stream. I'm not watching it. I popped in to give him a like. The colonel can also migrate to the sovereign, independent, prosperous state of the Cape. Well, yeah, it's possible. Patrick is here. He says, from the penal colony for 3 months, what will I return home? Well, yeah, I don't know what you're going to return to in 3 months, but the GNU might not be there. Again, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. I think that the DA is going to let it play out legally and see how okay, well, now we're waiting. It's 7 o'clock and the DA has not gone live. They have not gone live. So let me refresh the page and make sure they haven't gone live. No, we're still waiting for the Democratic Alliance. Well, if he's late, I'm going to be so pissed off because I've got a 7:30 live stream with rugby, and I don't have time for John Steenhuisen to be late. I don't have time for them to be late. So anyway, African Idiot says, let's hear what the Hadida has to say. Akan Engman in from the Netherlands, James Bowie, Dylan Kumbrick, Charmaine, Slippery Pickle. Michael says, what do you think about the income tax rates in South Africa? After 1.4 million, it's like a 40. That's outrageous. That's outrageous. No one should pay more than 10 to 15% taxes on anything. If a government cannot survive on taking 10% of the wealth from its citizens, then it's not legitimate, which would include my government. Pinot made a podcast and actually did a poll on X and asked black people if they want land or jobs. He also explains that everyone will get 2 acres per person, as well as not all land is usable. Okay, and what was the outcome of that? So what was the outcome of that? So let me get over here. Start a poll. Will the DA leave the GNU today? All right, there's the poll. You can vote in that poll. We've got 163 people currently here. Thanks for tuning in, folks. 163 waiting for John Steenhuisen and the DA, and they are late. Wow. He's learning his lessons from Cyril Ramaphosa. Wow. Cyril Ramaphosa. But I have 163 people here. The DA website has 187. And Ronaldo, I don't know what Ronaldo has. Let's check on Ronaldo, make sure that he hasn't got it from the Facebook feed or something like that. He's got 1,300. He's got...
Not this amazing strategic plan, but...
Yeah, so Ronaldo has, at the moment, about 8 times as many viewers as the DA's own website. What does that tell you, DA? You think you made a mistake? Patrick said that since I started voting in 2004, never gave them my vote. The only solace here is I feel vindicated by the DA nonsense. Sorry to crow about 20 years of knowing. Yeah. Nick Rose is here. All right, good to see you there. All right, and they bashed Phil Craig for dear life. They wanted to deport him. Well, they bashed Phil Craig because he's got a posh English accent, and he's not born in South Africa. But he's a South African, and they've naturalized him, so people need to get over themselves. Salem's Cave, watching me and Ronaldo. Well, that's cool. Thanks for watching. Would you like me to complain about the DA? I'm sure Ronaldo's doing that. He's busy. Boy, sunshine over there in South Africa. It's daytime, Usually gets close to evening by the time we get on here. Anyway, so John Steenhuisen is late. Has he been called in and scolded by Cyril Ramaphosa and told not to speak? Wow, that might be what's happening now. 2 minutes late. So we've got the ANC clock working for the DA at the moment. They won't leave. They will be litigated. Yeah, exactly, Nick. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm asking a poll. I'm asking your view. That's my thoughts on it. They will not leave. They will use the excuse that, well, we're taking to the courts. This will drag out for 2 years. And in the meantime, unless the court puts an injunction against acting on it, then local governments will start expropriating property. They'll start with land. Sandy Hunt is back. Sandy, I was just thinking about you and your books for kids. Mary Sinclair is here. Welcome. 187 people here at the moment. Incoming Cape Independence SA torpedo, says Zendo. We will see. Ladies and gentlemen, we're waiting for the Democratic Alliance, and they are, imagine this, late. Potgieter Christian. I'm guessing your name is Christian Potgieter. Welcome. Thank you for subscribing. Do appreciate that. I don't have a video up right now, so we've kind of tapered off. But yesterday we had our biggest day in ages, 33,000 views. I used to get that on 1 of 3 videos every day. But hey, we'll take that. That's pretty exciting. So it's still not on. So he's still late. Let's see.
Let me acknowledge the super chats.
Oh, Ronaldo's getting super chats. I'm not getting any super chats. He put a goal up of 15. Wow. I'm not going to put a goal up for this one. Ronell, maybe it's the end of Steenhuisen. Well, yeah, except that it's not labeled that way. It says the DA. I think it is the end of John Steenhuisen. I think that I predicted that he would be gone within the first year, the way things are going. So we'll see. Alan Wendy is dictatorial and totalitarian leftist, says Pablo Charlie. Well, that's true, but not germane to the conversation. Nick Jordan says Trump should force the ANC to ban the BE or high tariffs. Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that. DA are a joke. Been using wealthy people to look after the Cape for them, says Maya Brembridge. Well, I think a lot of people would agree with you in that statement. Yeah. So John Cyril Steenhuisen is late for his own show. 4 minutes now. Well, if he doesn't show up, we're not going to be able to cover it because I have to go over and cover the rugby. But yeah, 203 people currently here. Maybe I'll stay here and we'll do the rugby late, and I'll apologize to my rugby audience because this is probably of more consequence. Potentially. We'll see what he has to say. So what do you think is going to happen, folks? Do you think that he's simply going to say, we are going to litigate this, we're taking it to court, we'll wait the outcome of that, but we are adamantly opposed to it? I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah, so politicians are always late. No respect for the constituents, says Peter Koenig. Hey, Peter, how's it going? Been a while. Glad to see you there. 231 people here. Folks, I've done extensive coverage of this. If I'm not mistaken, I was, if not the first, among the very first to publish a video on this moments after it came out. I was within an hour and a half after this story broke a couple of days ago. I actually put a video out there, and that one's got to about 20,000 views. It'd be nice if it had 200,000, but hey, yep. All right, so 93 votes in that poll. There are 200 plus people here right now. Please vote in the poll while we wait for John. I'm late for my own wedding. Steenhuisen to show up here. Wow. And there is Yeshua Is-al-Haq. I can't see it very clearly because that color is the same color as my clock. Yesa. So welcome to you. And yeah, so Freelance Kate is here. Hey, Freelance Kate, can you join it? Why do I want to join Ronaldo's stream? Why do I want to do that? Ronaldo is going to be complaining about being kicked out of the DA, and that's fine. That's his prerogative. That's not the focus of the stream. So Mario Falante Rebello, hey, GNU are the doormats of the ANC. Well, yeah, I will not disagree with that. The GNU has simply allowed the ANC to quietly or without much resistance implement the policies that it's had in mind all along. Notice how they held NHI, they held Bella, they held EWC till after the elections and after forming a government and after the dust settled, and now they do things with impunity. It doesn't matter what the public has had to say. I'm loading it again, and we're still waiting for the DA. Well, they have 280 people waiting for John Steenhuisen, who is now 6 minutes late. I have almost as many viewers, and I'm an American sitting in Pennsylvania. I have almost as many viewers as the Democratic Alliance website for their major announcement on a significant policy issue for South Africa. That's sad. Meanwhile, Ronaldo is up to 1,460, so obviously he's much more popular than the DA on YouTube anyway. There's solutions in this country, but I see people begging for Trump. He's busy with his own country. That's true. You don't, as I said in the first term when Trump was in office, if you're waiting for Trump to be your savior, you're mistaken. That's not Trump's role. There may be things he can do that benefit South Africans, but that's not his focus. And so you need to focus on fixing your own country and rescuing yourselves. And that's not a cold-hearted message. It's a statement of fact. But I would expect to see that the ANC has placed South Africa in jeopardy when it comes to the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. They are in blatant violation of the act. Oh, here we go. John Steenhuisen is finally showing up. Okay, here we go. All right. So they don't have the microphones on yet, but we do have John Steenhuisen coming up in just a few moments. So let me go ahead and get that on the screen. Okay, there we go. We're going to want to get, is it the right? Let me see if I got the right one here. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool beans. Who's the chica on the left checking out the camera? All right, so we're waiting for John Steenhuisen to show up. Well, let me go ahead and shut him off until we get on the screen because YouTube is messing with my broadcast lately, so I want to turn that off for a moment. And we'll also turn the double Chris off here, so we'll get back to that. But I'll keep an eye on over here. I've got the volume turned on. Yeah, so we're just waiting for it. So he's supposed to be talking about the Expropriation Act now. It's law and national health insurance, both which are disaster, both which were red lines in the sand for the Democratic Alliance. We'll see how much of red line it is. All right, so we're now 8 minutes late for John Steenhuisen, so that probably eats up the entire speech that I hope to cover and give analysis on. So we'll see what happens. 219 people. We were at 238 and people left. Why did you leave? Why do we, or wait a second, let me see if, is that true? Do we lose 20-some people? Why did people leave? Oh, we lost 10 people. Where did they go? Why did you leave? What's going on? It's not my fault that John Steenhuisen isn't here. Anyway, Indy's back. Trump is focusing on fixing the U.S. Little South Africa, zero importance. Exactly. Andre says Trump already knows Elon took to Twitter regarding this nonsense. I didn't see him on Twitter say that. We don't care much about Johnny Boy. Give us Phil Craig. Pablo Charlie's in the Netherlands. He's acting as if he's he's pulling for as a Western Caper. Anyway, right. Well, the Democratic Alliance, we're still waiting. John Steenhuisen now 8 minutes late. Hope the stage reinforced, John. Oh, Nick, that's mean. Do you think Ramaphosa didn't think this through? Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he thought it through. He doesn't care. People are done with the DA. Well, I think that's what's going to happen. So the fact that he's so disrespectful and late is going to play a role as well. It's going to play a role here. Yeah, so this is very inconsiderate route. It's being done on a Saturday, a rugby Saturday at that. Could have done this between the two games. Instead, no, he does it just before the Lions and Bulls game. Seriously? People in the Highveld are more interested in the Lions and Bulls than they are in the Democratic Alliance. I can state that pretty unequivocally. So people still showing up, the press, but John Steenhuisen isn't there. Nope, he's not there. So it's now 7:09. He's 9 minutes late. Anyway, so how's the poll going over there? Let me take a look at that and see what kind of results we got on that. 69% said they're not going to leave the government and national unity today. And we'll give it a little bit longer on that poll, then we'll stick another one up if Johnny Boy doesn't show up. Yep. Johnny Mnemonic here is not showing up on the stage. Yeah, who else we got here in the chat here? Leah Menard's there. Oh, here we go, finally. Here we go, finally. John Steenhuisen is late. I hope the mic works because it doesn't sound too good.
Hey, hi everyone. Good afternoon. Democrat South Africans, thank you so much for availing yourselves for today's presser. My name is Karabo Khachau, dear national spokesperson. The Democratic Alliance convened this session today because we believe it is important for us to react to the signing of the Expropriation Act that we saw happening last week, Thursday. We are going to be giving clear directives of what it is that we're going to be doing legally and within the GNU on this matter. And John Steenhuisen, as the federal leader of the party, will lead us in that communication. We're also going to be having a conversation about what it is that we're going to do as far as the ANC's attempt to effect and roll out the NHI.
Should we start with a
But
prayer?
John is not here alone. We're also joined here by Dean McPherson, who's a DA Member of Parliament, as well as the DA Minister within the Government of National Unity, Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, and of course my co-pilot, Willie Okamp. So
Willie Okamp.
I know you guys are really anxious to hear what John has to say quickly, so I'll sit. John, you can take the floor.
Did I get that French pronunciation properly?
Thank you very much, Karabo, and thank you very much to all of you who've come out today on the Saturday to come and listen to what we have to say about this very important issue. Ladies and gentlemen, 7 months ago, South Africans were imbued with a sense of great hope and optimism, wherein the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance came to an agreement and signed a statement of intent to herald a new era of government in South Africa, a government based on coalition, a government based on power sharing. The statement of intent was the document and the basis upon which we gave our support to President Cyril Ramaphosa and voted him into office as the President of the Republic of South Africa on the 14th of June 2024.
So let's have a no
It
confidence
was also
vote.
the basis upon which we entered government in order to keep out the destructive policies of the MK party and the economic freedom fighters, and to contribute to building a better South Africa, a better future,
Bosa.
and a better life for all South Africans. This came about after the voters and the people of the Republic of South Africa voiced their dismay with the ANC over their chronic service delivery failures, over the corruption, and over the missteps in government. In doing so, the voters of South Africa deprived the ANC of a majority for the first time in 30 years. Through their votes, the people of South Africa indicated that they wanted parties to work together to build a better South Africa.
Not really.
And I think this point is one which is absolutely worth emphasizing, that this is not a project of politicians. It is an expression of the will of the people of South Africa,
The people are fragmented.
who clearly said that they wanted parties to work together in a mutually respectful way to build South Africa and to ensure their interests were advanced.
No, they just didn't want the ANC.
I'm proud to say that the DA continues to uphold our side of the bargain. of that statement of intent. Portfolios that are under the control of DA ministers have done more to deliver progress in those ministries in the last 7 months than we've seen the ANC achieve in the last 30 years. Every single day, DA ministers, DA deputy ministers, presiding officers in Parliament, House chairpersons in the NCOP, and committee chairs get out of bed more determined than ever before to build a more inclusive, prosperous, and free South Africa.
Well, okay.
That is why we are in government, and that is what we are delivering.
And why we're not leaving it.
And this is precisely because we have heard the cry of the people for constructive cooperation, that the DA treats our fellow coalition partners and colleagues from other parties in a 10-party GNU with respect,
Not the
making
ANC.
constructive suggestions aimed at resolving disagreements rather than inflaming them. As a result of all of this, the green shoots have started appearing in our economy and in the employment statistics.
No, it's going the other way,
Rand
John.
is strengthened, and
No, it's
international
dropped against the
analysts
dollar.
hailed the formation of the GNU as South Africa's most significant moment since 1994. The recent World Economic Forum in Davos, from which I've returned from this morning, reflected the positive attitude of the world towards this political, magnificent political development. Every day since June 14 last year, the Democratic Alliance has made a concerted effort to ensure the success of the GNU. We have negotiated, we've compromised where needed.
Oh, you've
As
compromised.
veterans of coalition politics, we know that no matter how large you are in a coalition, you don't always get your own way.
You never get your
You
own
don't
way.
have 50% of the vote, which means that you cannot get everything that you want. At the same time, however, in various press conferences, we have made it abundantly clear that we were in government, in this GNU, to share power, not merely to make up the numbers, for the ANC to continue rolling out the same destructive policies and proposals that have landed South Africa in the situation that it has found itself over the last 2 decades. Now, any coalition agreement is premised on the acknowledgement that the larger party will, of course, have to be prepared to negotiate
Thank you,
and
Talon.
compromise where needed. Because all parties in the government of national unity represent the interests of a minority. However, after a very promising start whereby President Ramaphosa delayed the implementation of the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act
That wasn't promising.
to
He
enable
signed it.
negotiations to continue, recent weeks have made it increasingly clear that the ANC has lost interest in honouring its side of our relationship and statement of intent. Unfortunately, the ANC has taken to openly disrespecting coalition partners and undermining the very trust upon which a coalition agreement is built. In a statement at the January 8th anniversary, President Ramaphosa was quoted as saying that although the ANC failed to secure 50% plus 1 in the elections, the ANC is still in charge. Just today, the President opened the ANC's Lekgotla by saying that the GNU exists to implement the NDR, the National Democratic Revolution. Now, not only is a statement like this incorrect, it is immature, but it also does not accord to the letter and spirit of the statement of intent.
So leave it. Leave it.
Unfortunately, however, it does accord with behavior of recent weeks. In the last week, the President not only disregarded the very serious constitutional objections raised by the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Minister Dean McPherson, over the Expropriation Bill, but he failed to even have the courtesy to inform the Minister about when he intended to sign the bill into force. Similarly, a few weeks ago, I personally wrote to the President about the contentious National Health Insurance Act, which, despite the fact that it was raised very clearly in the negotiations going into the agreement, despite the fact that there was agreement by all parties that there would be continued negotiations about it, we're met with TV screens at airports rolling out that the NHI is here. That does not accord to the spirit and intent of negotiation, compromise, and cooperation. In the correspondence that I addressed to the President, I made a number of constructive proposals for consideration because, as a Democratic Alliance, we want universal access to basic health care for all South Africans, regardless of their income.
Who's paying for it, John?
However, the NHI in its current form, which seeks to destroy private medical aids and tax credits and to launch an assault on the private medical sector, is not the way to go. If anything, Operation Vulindlela has shown us over the last few years it is indeed a public-private partnership and cooperation that leads to greater successes in government.
Maybe.
I made a number of these constructive proposals which set out very clearly our position on the matter. And I asked for a meeting with the President to further engage ahead of the upcoming Cabinet Lekgotla to prevent a repeat of the events from the previous Lekgotla, where we vehemently objected to the inclusion of the NHI targets in the documentation. Amazingly, the President refused to even meet with the leader of the largest party in the coalition to discuss the single most critical issue for the future of the GNU and for the future of South Africa.
So leave the GNU, quit being a bitch.
Instead, my letter was simply waved away and sent into the abyss of the health department. And that leads me to the next point, because the same place my letter was sent to has been met with a really odd response. Instead of engaging respectfully and maturely to find solutions, the ANC Minister of Health, Aaron Motsoaledi, declared war on the GNU in front of the world at Davos this week. Motsoaledi told world leaders assembled at the World Economic Forum that he is fighting what he called a war against the people of South Africa who don't want their private medical aids expropriated and who don't want higher taxes to fund a new looting scheme and who don't want to see our healthcare system in South Africa destroyed. This is not how mature colleagues behave.
No, they're arrogant.
That is not how you negotiate, and that is not how you compromise. It is arrogant, and it is deeply disrespectful, not only to the Democratic Alliance, but to the other parties, to the Government of National Unity, who have also expressed their concerns about the NHI, and who are also patiently waiting for a negotiation around this particular matter.
Are you leaving or not?
It is a symptom of a continued lack of respect accorded to coalition partners, as well as to the founding agreement.
Oh, politicians.
And most importantly, from international experience and local experience, this is not how healthy coalitions work.
Bottom line last.
Whether the ANC likes it or not, the stability of this government, as well as the security of the President's own position, depends entirely on the relationship between the two largest parties to the Government of National Unity.
So call for a vote of no confidence.
In keeping with our mature approach to coalition government, the Democratic Alliance is therefore urgently seeking to pursue a reset in this relationship. To do so, I yesterday wrote directly to President Ramaphosa
Call him.
to do the following things. To object in the strongest possible terms
Oh, yay.
to the fact that he simply signed the Expropriation Act this week in contravention of a clear legal opinion and concerns submitted by the Minister of Public Works that the act is in fact unconstitutional
They're playing with toy soldiers.
and could quite easily be remedied by sending it back to Parliament.
Oh, Mike, this is why the DA is useless.
Secondly, to note the DA's implacable opposition
Implacable.
to the inclusion of the NHI, and particularly the proposals to start to move to eliminate private medical aid and the continued assault on the private healthcare sector in South Africa, contained in the documentation of the Medium-Term Development Plan, with, of course, the accompanying budgetary implications of this. Bear in mind again, we are in government
Thank
to
you,
see
Monray.
economic growth and job creation and an end to poverty in South Africa.
You're there for DA job
Every
creation.
policy, every law, every initiative by government should be measured through the lens
MK won't
of
join.
the following things. Will this help grow the economy? Will it create jobs? And will it help lift more South Africans out of poverty? And finally, to record the failure to set up of now an effective dispute resolution mechanism, as well as the clear abuse of the clearinghouse mechanism, which still does not have adopted terms of reference.
Helen Zilla's look pretty foolish about now.
But most importantly, I notified the President that I was now invoking Section 19 of the Statement of Intent. Clause 19 was specifically put in place to deal with situations where disagreements within the coalition arose. Clause 19 codifies the procedure to be followed when differences arise between parties to the Government of National Unity. Clause 19.3 states, and I quote, "Sufficient consensus exists when parties to the GNU representing 60% of seats in the National Assembly agree," unquote. The only parties that represent 60% of the seats in the National Assembly are the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance. In the event of a lack of sufficient consensus, the Statement of Intent in Clause 20 continues, "The parties to the GNU shall also establish dispute resolution or deadlock breaking
He's putting us to
mechanisms
sleep.
in instances where sufficient consensus is not reached."
Man up or depart.
The President needs to accept, as long with his party, that the ANC does not have a majority in South Africa.
Duh.
They are now just another minority party, and that the DA
Well, they're a
are
plurality party.
partners in the GNU.
Not really.
We won over 3.5 million votes in the last election.
500,000
and
less
we
than the
are in
previous one.
government to represent our voters and to rescue South Africa by growing the economy and creating jobs and ending poverty. If we cannot fulfill this mandate within the GNU and are treated merely as a doormat or treated as simply there to make up the numbers, we have to seriously consider our next steps.
Now you're seriously considering? Bella should have done
And I
that.
want to be very clear about this, the DA will not be reduced to being mere spectators in a government of which we bring a large part.
You
of
already
the
are.
seats. I want the people of South Africa to know that the DA does not take this step lightly. We understand the grave implications, not only for politics, but for the future of governance in South Africa. The seriousness of this situation demands that we do engage other parties in the GNU too, who, like us, have publicly come out against the acts of the recent week, and
Oh, my
particularly the IFP, who have now come out very strongly against the Expropriation Act too. We are invoking Clause 19 in pursuit of an urgent reset in the relations, because South Africa deserves a functioning coalition where partners treat each other with respect in pursuit of the solutions to the country's many pressing problems.
John is an expert at not reading the room.
Solutions must work to undo the failed policies of the past 30 years and set South Africa sailing on a new path of hope, prosperity, and opportunity for more South Africans.
Wow.
It is also not good enough to stand on the world stage and take the bouquets for the formation of the GNU if you are unwilling to domestically put in the hard yards that are required to make coalitions work. Under the GNU now, it is time for a reset that treats all parties
Third time he
to the
said
GNU
reset.
as key players in the decision-making processes of this government and the policies and practices that it will pursue. It is also a time for new policies and for a new direction for South Africa, away from the failed policies of the past, and that is precisely why the GNU was met with so much hope and excitement. And it's that hope and excitement that we wish to give a greater opportunity to through a reset in these relations.
4 times.
If
How's
the
that hope and change
reset
going for
is
you?
not possible, and we remain unable to be able to play our part in the growth and jobs agenda, if our ideas, if our solutions are merely waved away with the hand of the national democratic revolution, then we too will have to reconsider our options and how to best serve South Africa.
And when do you make that
in this
decision? In 4
situation.
years?
It is my fervent hope that the coming week will see a coming together of the ANC and the DA, as well as the leaders of other parties, to adopt a far more cohesive, collaborative partnership towards governing South Africa and to implementing a new policy agenda that will bring the jobs we need, that will grow the economy in the way we need it to grow, and which will lift millions of our citizens out of poverty.
Zoom is laughing in
into
his
a
fire
new era
pole
of
at
hope,
Nkandla.
opportunity, and prosperity.
Even Julius
Thank you
Malema
very
has
much.
hope. What a bunch of nonsense that
Thank you
was.
very much,
Reset 4
John.
times.
Colleagues, I'm now going to hand over to
Dean
Dean
McPherson.
McPherson, who's going to give us politically an overview of
John checking his phone.
himself
How did I
as
do?
DA
How did I
cabinet
do?
member, whose
Look at him checking his phone.
department is now responsible for overseeing the Expropriation Act and how that affects South Africans and where we stand with that as the Democratic Alliance. Dean, I'm going to hand over to you now.
The man who only gives his time to legacy media that pillar him, John
Thank you
Steenhuisen.
very much, Karabo, and to John, our leader, and colleagues here.
Leader. Huh.
Let me start off by saying that I am in government at the behest of my party, the Democratic Alliance, and I'm here to serve the interests of my party and the 3.5 million voters that sent us into government, and to serve the broader interests of the public. And one of my priorities is to always ensure that the Constitution is upheld, respected, and implemented. And so it was that in mind, and with my oath of office that I took to be a faithful counsellor to the President, I embarked on a consultation with his office regarding the expropriation bill then, to ensure that I was satisfied with the advice that he may have received in the 6th administration, and to ensure that my office was on the same page in terms of its legality or constitutionality. With that in mind, on the 5th of December, I provided the President with a comprehensive legal opinion by one of South Africa's foremost senior counsels in public law, which outlined a fatal constitutional problem with the then bill. I suggested to the President, in terms of my counsel, that he should refer the then bill back to Parliament in terms of Section 79(1) of the Constitution,
Snooze
to
fest.
ensure that those issues and those fatal defects in the bill were rectified. On the 21st of January, I received a letter from the President to simply say that after careful consideration, the bill meets constitutional muster. 2 days later, via a social media post, I became aware that the bill had in fact been assented to. That was the first time I became aware of it. It was the
Yeah,
first
property
time
market,
that
you're right, Bianca.
the leader of my party became aware of it, and the partner of the second largest party in the government of national unity. What is clear, however, is that individuals with my department were either tipped off or made aware that the bill was going to be assented to, because there was a press release ready
Thank you, Alan.
that was not authorized by myself or my office, which in fact completely contradicted the President's own press statement, spoke about greedy landlords, spoke about evicting people, farm workers being able to claim land, talking about taking land from people, and so on. There were also a number of graphics that had also been prepared. Now, never in the history of of government has anyone other than the minister responsible for legislation communicated on that particular piece of legislation.
No, we're not off topic. This is
So it
how
was incredibly unfortunate
ANC
and
is
regrettable
acing them out.
that myself as the minister who had taken the opportunity
Your minister name
to
only.
counsel the president in terms of my oath of office was not taken into confidence that the bill would be signed or assented to, but other people were. That being said, it's important that I highlight what was found to be unconstitutional with the bill. And I'll take you through the points as in a lay process as best as I can. But if effectively there is a contradiction in the sequencing of how expropriation is supposed to take place between Section 7, 8, and 19. Section 19 envisages that where the expropriating authority and owner do not agree, that the amount of compensation to be paid, that there is a process to take place. That firstly, the parties must attempt to settle the dispute by mediation. If they are unable to settle the dispute by mediation, either party may, within 180 days of the date of the notice of expropriation, institute proceedings for a court to decide or approve the amount of just and equitable compensation. So either parties can follow that process. The disputing party may, within 90 days of the date of the notice, request the expropriating authority to institute such proceedings. So the authority, the expropriating authority or the government, would have to go to court to get the court to determine just and equitable compensation. It's clear from these provisions that the envisaged process to determine the amount of compensation must be instituted within 180 days, but Sections 7 and 8 require that by the time notice of expropriation is issued and served, the amount of compensation must already have been determined, and that the court process to approve or to determine the amount referred
Correct,
to in
Charmaine.
Section 19 is that contemplated by Section 8. Effectively, once that amount has been determined in terms of the 7 and 8 process, the individual who is affected must then go to court and go through the court process,
Oh
which
my gosh.
severely disadvantages them.
Yeah, they don't have any money to go to court, genius.
It's very clear that both processes can't exist, that they are irreconcilable with an internal conflict between the provisions of 7 and 8 on the one hand and the provisions of Section 19
Holy
on the
guacamole.
other hand.
Yeah.
Let me put it differently, if I may.
All right.
On the one hand, the amount of compensation must be finally determined before a decision to expropriate is made and a notice of expropriation is served. On the other hand, any court proceedings to decide or approve the amount of compensation, properly interpreted, may be made only after the notice of expropriation has served. It's quite clear then that the conflicting provisions are irreconcilable with each other and are thus unworkable, rendering the expropriation bill and act irrational, vague, and unconstitutional. The expropriation bill, just for that reason, is unconstitutional.
Yeah, well, that's kind of technical, but yeah.
The unconstitutionality that has been identified is on a range of levels, lead to other constitutional concerns.
All right, folks, I'm going to apologize. And I know there's 300 of you here who are watching this. If you want to continue listening to Dean McPherson puts you to sleep and tell you the painfully obvious if you spent 5 minutes reading the bill, you can go over to Ronaldo Chus' channel. I'm sure he's covering it live at Ronaldo Chus, but I have rugby to cover, so I'm going to apologize and step aside. The game starts in about 8 minutes, and I don't want to disappoint my audience. If you want to catch the rugby in my live play-by-play and color commentary of the Lions-Bulls game, just stay right here. You'll be automatically redirected to it, but I'll give a summary of this. I'll make a video of this later. here. This is just ridiculous. Steenhuisen mentioned reset 4 times. Oh, please, sir, please, can we have a reset? Could you treat us with respect? Would you please notify our minister? The mere fact that members of McPherson's own ministry have produced PowerPoint presentations of how they were going to expropriate land when he had not even been notified by the president that this bill was going to be signed shows you that the DA are just bum-fucked partners in this alliance. It's utter nonsense. Utter nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. They're not legitimate. This coalition is a joke. It's simply as Motsolady told the folks in Davos, rest assured, we run the show. We are making decisions. This is the implementation of the National Democratic Revolution. It's in full force. That's the bottom line here, folks. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line here. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time, and I do appreciate 300 plus people here. If you're not a subscriber, please become one. You'll get cogent, honest. No, I'm not bum hurt. I didn't get kicked out of the DA. I didn't get kicked out of the 300 plus. I've never been a part of those things. I report them honestly and objectively. Yes, I have bias. We all have bias, but being objective isn't the same as being biased. All right, so please tune in for a video on this later today as I prepare it. Meanwhile, I've got 2 rugby games to cover. First one up, Lions and Bulls. In about 6 minutes, we'll see you on Rugby Ascendant. Thanks for being here, folks. Be sure to hit the like button. And please go over to Ronaldo if you want to watch more of this. But I can't stomach it. This party is they're like a bunch of posh lunatics drinking freaking white wine in Stellenbosch, thinking they're actually part of this government. Please reset. It's just a joke. It's a joke. It's just a joke. Just a joke. Anyway, see you shortly, folks, on Rugby Ascendant. Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button, and you can leave a comment behind if you would like. Cheers.